I'm always interested in new filmmaking shortcuts, and more specifically, filmmaking equipment shortcuts which make me more efficient or make my life easier on set. And so on this episode, I'd like to share with you some of those items that I've been using recently, mainly in conjunction with my Nikon ZR, which have become essential in my corporate and documentary filmmaking workflow. First, I want to talk tripods and monopods. Now, SmallRig sent me their new Tribeex SE for review. This is not a paid sponsorship and they have no editorial over this video, but this new quick release system is definitely a very interesting new innovation I wanted to try out. I'll also look at some additional items as a point of comparison, all of which I purchased myself. The Pinata Pro carbon fiber monopod from YC Onion, and Old Faithful, my Sackler FSB tripod, along with a couple of SmallRig accessories which I now find indispensable for my shoots. Links to everything will be in the description, so use those if you'd like to support the channel. If you do own a Nikon ZR or are planning to buy one, then the absolute first item on your agenda has to be the SmallRig cage. This is one of SmallRig's best cages for any camera system, and I've used ones for Panasonic, the Canons, and the Blackmagics and Sonys, but this one has just a really great design, mainly because of this excellent hand grip that it introduces to give the ZR that proper feeling in the hand when you pick it up. It's such a nice grip that if you have to take a cage off for any reason, you feel like a part of the camera is now missing. Another great feature of this cage is the fact that its side does not stick out too far, meaning you can put any adapter onto the ZR without that cage blocking it. Now this has been definitely a problem for other SmallRig cages, and in fact many cages in general make it difficult to attach PL mounts or adapters with built-in ND controls, but there's no problems here. You can fit the Poco Mofage right on the front of this and fit PL lenses while essentially introducing an internal ND system at the same time with no interference from the SmallRig cage. Also, this cage comes with an HDMI clamp, which does go a long way to solving the micro HDMI problem and helping you avoid damaging that port. And this also has an Arca-Swiss base, which you can attach to absolutely everything. And I'll show you how I'm leveraging that in a second. But it's an amazing cage, very affordable, absolutely necessary for the ZR. Now this V-mount plate from SmallRig is something I like so much, I actually bought it twice. The old version is just a plate with an Arca-Swiss base. You slide your camera on, you put a V-mount battery on the back, and you plug in via the V-mount battery directly to the camera. No frills, but it's a very compact way to run V-mount power to your camera without having to rig it out. I normally run this at all times on my B cam just to get power to it the whole day without swapping batteries. You can see it here being used on a shoot. I like to use the USB-C power cable so I can keep a battery in my camera and never run out of charge during a shoot. Now, SmallRig have recently released the Mark II version. It is more expensive, but its new features are really good. This is not just a V-mount plate anymore. It has 3 extra DTAP ports and 2 USB-C ports, so no matter what V-mount you use with it, you will have enough ports to power your camera and all of its accessories. It also has a little locking latch at the top to keep your V-mount battery securely attached once you plug it in, and a useful 1/4 hole on top if you want to mount a little something extra. It has clips and a strap for cable management as well. And it also comes with this little LCD screen holder protector, which if you have a Nikon ZR and you're using that big LCD screen, you want to keep it from getting scratched and damaged and keep it as in good condition as possible. That LCD screen holder is very handy and clips onto the side of the V-mount plate. Now I do feel like because it's plastic, those sections that attach to the plate will eventually break, but it's a nice extra to have, especially with something like the Nikon LCD screen. If I'm not using my Omnia Cine rig from Rigid Pro because I want to keep a more compact setup, then I'm using this. And if I'm using my Cine rig with my A cam, then I've got this one on my B cam. So very handy power solution for your DSLR if you have a camera with really bad battery life like the C50, R5C, S1 II, then something like this V-mount plate basically becomes an essential camera accessory. Now, speaking of my Omnia Cine rig, they have just come out with this little Arca-Swiss attachment called the Orienter adapter, which slots onto the base plate of the Omnia. It's a very simple, affordable extra accessory, but it's really, really useful because what it means is that in conjunction with the ZR SmallRig cage, which has that Arca-Swiss base, I can just slide this easily onto my Omnia Cine rig without having to screw on a new proprietary extra base plate. When I don't want to use my Cine rig, I can slide it out and attach it to my tripod in seconds. Then I can slide it out and attach it to my gimbal in seconds. All thanks to this new extra Orienter accessory and the SmallRig Arca-Swiss converters, which I'm going to show you here. And yes, the RS3 gimbal has another SmallRig Arca-Swiss add-on, which is designed for the DJI gimbals. It replaces the regular tripod mount on the DJI and swaps it out for this mount with an Arca-Swiss base alternative. As you can tell, I'm really liking the whole Arca-Swiss conversion options for each of these setups. And using this Arca-Swiss plate method is just going to further increase the modularity of this rig and provide you with the ability for the quickest transitions between each of your setups. And I do want to add one extra SmallRig accessory to that workflow, which is the Manfrotto to Arca-Swiss plate, which is exactly the same concept. I use this all the time to put my cameras on a tripod with the SmallRig cages that have that Arca-Swiss base. So I put this plate on the tripod and then I just slide my camera on top of it without needing an extra tripod plate for the bottom of my camera setups. So using the SmallRig cage and the SmallRig base plates, I'm moving between my three setups really efficiently. Moving on to our tripod comparison, first we have the only one that isn't actually a tripod. Now, until very recently, I never used monopods. I don't much care for monopods, but that is because I was not familiar with the game of this monopod. Essentially, it's a tripod, but faster. You have this quick release that goes up and down in less than a second. It's lightweight, it's small, and crucially, it can be broken down to fit in a regular suitcase just by removing the top and bottom. So it's perfect for travel, but also perfect as a super quick, stable setup. I'm using this all the time with my Nikon ZR. I get stable, locked off shots in a fraction of the time, and my ZR itself is so small and compact that I frequently use the monopod as a tripod, even though technically this is very taboo. I am a man who likes to live dangerously.
It says here name danger powers.
No. Danger's my middle name.
Now, I can't tell you how helpful this has been for me on my recent shoots. Like, it's just so quick to use, and you can still imitate the locked off, well-composed framing that normally only a tripod shot can give you. It's one of my favorite new purchases of the year, and this Pinata Pro is absolutely the best monopod that I've tested. Also, you can remove the center column to get low angle or tabletop shots very quickly, which replaces the need for something like a hi-hat. However, there are a few serious drawbacks to using a monopod like this because it does have some very big Achilles heels. The first is a strong breeze. You've heard the expression, it looks like a strong breeze could blow you over. Well, that's a monopod for you. As soon as the wind picks up, this is going to be swaying noticeably in the wind. The second issue is that much like R2-D2, as soon as you introduce this to uneven surfaces, it falls over. Not just metaphorically, sometimes literally. This doesn't do well on anything that is not a flat surface, which means that there are a great deal of scenarios where this is just not practical. Yes, you can lean with it, but then you have to always be holding it. It just doesn't work that well. Also, you'll need to buy a tripod head and leveling bowl separately to fit onto the monopod to get it working smoothly, which is an extra cost on top of the already expensive monopod. But I think the cost is worth it, but the investment is a little bit more than just the monopod itself. This is where the SmallRig Tribeex absolutely excels. You might say that this tripod is the best all-terrain tripod in existence. Now, this tripod has a new special way to extend its legs, making it quicker than pretty much any other tripod in history. There's the bigger budget potato jet version, and then there's this one which is much more affordably priced, a little bit smaller and missing a few features from its big brother. but in turn meaning you get some great savings here. The potato jet version is $625, the Tribeex is only $399. The payload for this tripod is 6 kg, which is pretty reasonable. It can mount my C300 Mark III, for example, but it really suits smaller camera setups like, yes, my Nikon ZR. So you press on the clutch to extend the legs, which just drop immediately to the floor. When you release the clutch grip, the legs will lock into place. It's a very interesting design and one which really suits using this as a travel tripod. Heading out for day trips and hikes with this is just so quick and easy. So if I'm setting up my sackler, okay, it's pretty quick, and then just have to adjust. Okay, super quick. And then to put it back down, this is when it takes a bit longer maybe. Okay. That's our stock standard. Now obviously with this, and then maybe a slight adjustment here, possibly, and maybe just a little, but it is much quicker. And then if we look at getting it closed again, that is also pretty quick. So yeah, from it being at its base, and we'll put that down, from being at its base to set up, and then to sort of roughly adjust. Okay, cool, I'm ready to go. Right. The legs can fully extend, but it also does have the center column that you can extend up to get a lot more reach with that. You can rotate the handle in or out, and it has this little lock mechanism if you want to be sure you don't accidentally trigger the legs when you're not intending to. It comes with a case and this phone attachment for all you smartphone filmmakers out there. Again, this doesn't really suit having a heavy camera on it, but any photo style mirrorless camera is perfect. Thus meaning the Nikon ZR is also perfect for it. And if I wanted to head up on a hike, this would be my go-to. When you're hiking, you need to cut a pretty decent pace, and so having a tripod that could extend so quickly in these uneven terrains is really fantastic. So that's where I see having the Tribeex really makes the most of its unique design. I also think it's great as a tripod for your B cam that you can set up very quickly. SmallRig have revised and improved this design a bit when making this cheaper one, but it still does have a few issues, which means I wouldn't be considering making this my only tripod or my main tripod. The first issue is that after you release the legs, there is still some time between removing your hand from the release grip and the tripod's legs stabilizing. So you have this moment where after releasing, you have to support the weight of the tripod a little bit and the camera for a second if you don't want the whole thing to sink down a notch. Does seem like there's still just a little bit of pause between the time you release and it drops, you see? It's dropping from where you had it. So I think you've just got to find that spot, hold it for a second. The second issue is balancing. This is absolutely the quickest tripod to set up if you've managed to balance it at the right height. But most of the time you're going to need to readjust to get it exactly level, because you can only get the tripod level through adjusting those legs. You can get into this kind of awkward, lengthy process where you're pulling up the legs a little bit and then you're sinking them down repeatedly, just kind of to find the level height for the tripod. We're going to extend them out. Okay, cool. Now we've extended them out, but the problem is we're not level and we need to readjust to get level. And the only way to do that, because there's nothing here to let us level it with the bowl itself, because there is no bowl, we have to level it with the legs, which means that we then have to do this until we get it 100% level. And even then you kind of feel like you might be on a little bit of angle, or you want to position everything a little bit lower. You have to do that all over again, and then kind of hold the tripod, hold it up where you want it to get this even and centered. It can be a real struggle with these legs, and you have to keep holding the weight of the legs to try and find the right spot. This then makes that whole process about the same speed, or maybe even slower than just using a regular tripod. So for future versions, introducing a leveling bowl as part of this tripod would make it easier and quicker to level, as you could do it without having to wiggle the feet around it all. Now, to be fair, trying to level any of these travel tripods is a very slow process, even with traditional legs, as you try to even them out one by one, unlocking and locking the legs. So neither way is that practical. This is faster than that. But the other issue with the tripod is wear and tear on these legs because of the quick release system. While conceptually it's great and fast, there is definitely a question mark over how long the legs will last. What happens if they stop fully extending when you press the lever? What happens if the legs start to stick through wear and tear? It just seems like all those moving parts means it's more than likely to break quicker than a regular tripod. We'll bring it up, but you can see this is not its full extension, not quite. It's full extension. You can see that the legs don't extend quite as smoothly as the monopod. But it's just that readjustment that sounds like you may end up damaging the legs as you're sort of just trying to reposition those legs without pushing them in first. Other than that, I love the lightweight portability of the Tribeex and how it can be used on almost any terrain and uneven surfaces very, very quickly. It's a great tripod for light camera setups, a great outdoors tripod, or something for your bee cam. I wish I'd had this for my most recent trip to Japan, or when I was hiking the Milford Track, as I think it would have made my filming experience a lot easier. But just be aware of the issues I've highlighted as potential deal breakers when considering it. And last on the list, of course, is the traditional Sackler tripod. Pretty much the gold standard, very expensive, definitely a bit slower to set up, but also much sturdier and something that will last for years. This comes on every corporate or narrative shoot with me, but it really doesn't suit being lugged around for travel. This is strictly for heavier setups with my A-cam, but I must admit that I've been using it a whole lot less on my shoots since I bought my monopod. All of these tripod setups have different applications and use cases, which is why it's great to have them all in my arsenal. Thank you to SmallRig for allowing me to review the Tribeex, and I hope I get the opportunity to look at its bigger brother. If you found this video helpful, you can use my affiliate links or book a one-on-one consultation with me to help you with your filmmaking journey. Or you can just watch one of my films that are now streaming for free. Links are all in the description. As always, I am the very stable, very level, very well composed SAZH filmmaker. And I'll see you when I see you.